In its long history, Starbucks has transformed from a single coffee bean store in Seattle to a 30,000 cafe international coffee powerhouse. But massive expansion hasn't come without growing pains. It's no secret that Starbucks has been struggling to get US customers to frequent its cafes more often. While sales have been positive, the number of customer visits continues to stagnate. Same-store sales, a key metric in the restaurant industry, have dwindled over the last 12 months as competition heated up and customers were uninspired by some of Starbucks' limited-time offerings. While comparable store sales exceeded expectations in the fourth quarter, that ended September 30, rising 4%, much of that was due Starbucks charging more for its lattes. Under the careful watch of Howard Schultz, Starbucks pursued a strategy of aggressive expansion in the late 80s and early 90s. By the time the company went public in 1992, it had 165 stores. 4 years later, Starbucks opened its 1,000th location, including international cafes in Japan and Singapore. Growth was so rapid that, just 2 years later, Starbucks opened its 2,000th cafe. While unit expansion helped boost sales throughout the last 2 decades, Starbucks has had positive same-store sales growth since 2010. The company has now spread itself too thin. With more than 14,000 locations in the United States alone today, Starbucks has cannibalized its own sales. The company is regrouping and rethinking its expansion. It is expected to shutter 150 underperforming locations in 2019, 3 times the amount it typically does. Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz was 7 years old and living in the Brooklyn projects with his 2 siblings when his father, a truck driver, broke his ankle. Without health insurance or workers' compensation, his family was left without an income or the ability to pay for medical bills. The family somehow got by, but that experience was a defining moment for Schultz. Later, as the CEO of Starbucks, he instituted an unheard-of health insurance program that offers health insurance to both full and part-time employees. A talented athlete, Schultz got into Northern Michigan University on a football scholarship, but ultimately decided not to play and got through school with loans and odd jobs. After college, he went into sales, and it was at his second company, Hamarplast, which sold European coffee makers, that led Schultz to Starbucks. A compelling communicator, he'd risen within the company quickly. Starbucks, a tiny coffee bean selling operation back then owned by Jerry Baldwin, Zev Siegel and Gordon Boker, blipped onto his radar when Schultz, the director of sales, noticed an uptick of coffee maker sales to the company out in Seattle. A year later, he joined the company as Starbucks director of sales, and during a trip to Italy, he had an epiphany. Up until then, Starbucks had just sold coffee beans. However, struck by Italy's coffee bar culture, he became convinced that Starbucks should serve coffee drinks and foster community. In 1984, the original owners of Starbucks gave him the green light to open up one coffee bar in Seattle, which became a huge success. However, it soon became evident that Schultz had a very different idea of where to take the company, so he left to open a coffee bar chain of his own, Il Giornale. Il Giornale also was successful, and Schultz was able to buy Starbucks and merge it with Il Giornale in 1987. Today, no coffee chain sells more coffee drinks to more people in more places. The 62-year-old CEO, who was first to graduate from college in his family, is currently worth approximately $3 billion and heads the Schultz Family Foundation, which focuses on economic mobility for veterans and youth. Schultz is a true radical and visionary for leadership and business acumen. Here are 5 lessons we can take away from this leader. So, how did Starbucks become very successful? Starbucks links their partners' efforts directly to the success of the whole business enterprise. If the partners win, Starbucks wins. This eliminates the normal zero-sum game and creates a win-win scenario because the more profitable Starbucks is, the more profitable the individual partner at the store level is as well. Not every company can reward employees in the same fashion or scale as Starbucks. What we can do is treat our teams with enough care and concern to inspire passion and creativity. Starbucks example, when entering new markets, in some cases Starbucks receives a lot of resistance. The way they have combated this is to keep their core products and services the same, but tailored other aspects such as food offerings to the local cuisines. This creates a sense of caring and turns many haters into long-lasting patrons. First, a place for everyone. Many would agree that Starbucks serves up a high-quality brew that helps them power through the day. But coffee is far from being the only menu option. Stores today carry a small selection of food items and plenty of coffee-free beverages, making them more friendly to children and snack seekers. Customers also have the option to overindulge, a Trenta macchiato with a donut on the side, or underindulge, a skinny latte with a veggie snack box. If you're meeting up with someone whose food preferences are unknown, Starbucks is a pretty safe bet for any palate. Second, ambience. At a price around $2 for a cup of coffee and upwards of $20 for the fanciest drink imaginable, you better believe that there's more allure than just good coffee for the company to meet such widespread success at these not-so-competitive prices. In addition to its variety of non-coffee beverages and on-the-go eats, Starbucks ambience is a draw. By now, most customers pretty much know what to expect when they enter through the heavy glass door, small green letters hanging overhead on the building exterior. A Starbucks interior in Los Angeles won't look too different from one in Tokyo, a rich warm color scheme, alternative music, organic-looking art, and baristas in green aprons. Everything about the interior of a Starbucks, from the warm aroma to the casual couches, screams comfort. Third, consistently convenient. Perhaps the reliability of the Starbucks experience is the key to winning over customers' taste buds and loyalty. Baristas work quickly and keep long lines moving. Starbucks has even partnered with Square to make the future of the ordering process cashless. People often complain about Starbucks' high prices, but is $2.50 really that outrageous for a decent cup of joe, free Wi-Fi, and a public environment in which to sit, work or mingle? Bottom line, when you walk into a Starbucks, you know what you're getting yourself into, and as the numbers continue to prove, certainty is quite attractive. As our contemporary lives seem continuously to increase in pace and decrease in free time, the Starbucks model becomes even more relevant. Starbucks has an array of competitors, some old and some new, who also pride themselves on providing branded coffee with swiftness. A few notable competitors include Dunkin' Donuts, Tim Hortons, Peet's Coffee and the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, largest privately owned coffee retailer in the US. These prominent companies show potential for further growth, but as of now, Starbucks competitors are either more regionally based or simply fail to populate the world as densely. Because Starbucks still maintains its spot as the world's largest coffee chain, with almost 17,000 stores and counting in over 50 countries, the recent market disappointment isn't catastrophic, it's just disappointing.